Hey guys, welcome back to the Journey NYC podcast. My name is Anthony Luke-Akagi. I'm here with episode 21 today, and today for the first time in a long time, we are live here in the studio, where our guest today is going to be none other than Tommy McClain.
Hello, everybody.
Tommy is actually a colleague of mine. We actually work here in the city, and we got to be friends one day because I was a sarcastic ass. And decided to comment at 6 a.m. in the morning when no one's quite awake and say something stupid.
Still drinking my coffee.
Yeah, and I was like, and he's like, what? I was like, and then we got to be friends. So sometimes being stupid at 6 a.m. actually works in friendships.
Correct.
Tommy, how's it going?
It's going well.
So you are a trainer here in New York City.
I am.
A professional one, no less.
Yes.
Who has been doing it for quite a while, from what I understand.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how long you've been doing.
So I've been training with the certification for about 4 years now.
Okay.
But, before I had my certification, I was training like all my friends like in my basement. Like in college, I was like writing programs for people because I was like super into fitness.
Where were you when I needed you?
Yeah.
I wasn't a trainer in college.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've been doing it for 5 years, you said?
Yeah, about 5 years
Okay.
since I really started.
And what actually, have you always been, it sounds like from college and everything, you've been passionate about fitness, or at least the industry.
Yes. From a young age, like about in middle school, like I really wanted to be like strong and like have muscles and work out. My mom was like super into CrossFit. My grandma was really in shape. Yeah.
Cool.
So, we had like pull-up bars and dumbbells in the house.
Nice.
And through middle school, I was like wanting to do pull-ups and push-ups and working out. Yep. So I got into working out very young.
That's cool.
It came in waves. I wasn't like seriously like, I wasn't like dedicated like on like a workout split at this point. But I was like doing bicep curls and like chest press and like probably not doing any squats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never forget leg day.
Never forget leg day.
So you've already, it sounds like you were in an environment where it was always a part of your life.
Correct.
But maybe not necessarily a profession.
No.
So then what brought you, and it sounds like you were also interested in it, at least at different points, like with most kids, sort of goes up and down. When did it become a thing that it was, oh, this is what I'm really passionate about? Like, how did you know that this was going to be it? Because the fitness industry is very misleading. Very often we hear a lot of people say, I love working out, so I'm going to be a trainer. And that's not the right reason to do it. Not at all.
I am guilty of starting off that way.
Which is fine.
In a way.
Okay.
So I was in college studying social work.
Okay.
We can backtrack this a little bit. So the real reason why I actually got into fitness was during sobriety, the beginning of my sobriety.
Okay.
I was into fitness like through middle school and high school.
Okay.
I took it semi-seriously.
Yeah.
Then went into college. In the beginning of college, that's when I was like kind of writing programs for people.
Got it.
But then I started, the drinking and party scene really kind of took over.
This is in college or
in high school? This is in high school. I mean, in high school, I was drinking a lot too.
Okay.
But it wasn't like, I just thought I was like young and having fun.
Sure.
And this is what everybody does.
Sure.
All my friends were like, we were going out every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So it just felt normal.
Wow.
In college, it became more of like an everyday, drinking every day type situation.
Like you needed to, or like it
was
just more of a social thing?
It was definitely social and fun.
Okay.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
But the last year, around the last 18 months, I'd say year and a half of when I was drinking still.
Yeah.
It was more so like I had to, because I'd wake up and I'd have I'd be like, my hands would be kind of shaky.
Oh, okay.
My heart would be beating really fast, and then when I drank, it would go away. So it wasn't even anxiety; it was actual physical symptoms of alcohol withdrawal.
Okay. And how long? So this is now you're in college when you start realizing this.
This is in college, yeah.
So you're in college. You were studying social work. How did you make the jump, though, to fitness?
So let me start over.
Okay.
When I first went to college,
yeah.
I was studying. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Sure.
So it was like a liberal arts degree. Yeah. I was in business classes. I did not know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
After I decided to get sober.
Okay.
I then went back to school for social work because I wanted to specialize in addiction and helping people with addiction.
Okay, that's
right?
cool.
So I didn't originally go to college for social work off the bat. When I was 18,
okay.
I went to college for 2 years up at Cortland, in SUNY Cortland. And I'd say
that's like
I had a couple, right? I left that school with maybe 12 credits.
Okay.
Out of 4 semesters. So that's 4 classes I actually somewhat got a decent grade.
Okay.
Because I didn't know what I'd sit in class, I had no idea what I didn't care about anything. I only cared about the social aspect of,
college.
Being up there. Yeah.
What's interesting too is, when I think about college, for whatever reason, when you come out of high school, you feel all this pressure to where you're going to go to college. I think there are kids that are out there that are very focused on this is what I want.
Yeah.
And yet I also think, is that a true calling for them? Or is it just, it looks good because it's alluring based on what their interactions with the profession has been?
Yeah.
Because no one ever is going to tell them that when you get out of law school, you're going to have, $250,000 plus worth of debt, and then you're gonna be working 80 hours a week.
Yes.
And then for your next X, in order to make your next jump, I don't think anyone, when you listen to that, goes, "Wow, that's what I dreamed of."
Yeah,
yeah. So I don't think it's uncommon for people, and to look at the first couple of years, or at least the first year of college, as a social experiment, because you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
You don't have the structure of home. I remember the first weeks of college were everyone's in shorts and slippers. No one, flip-flops, and no one cares what you look like. They're of all ages. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So you now finish after 4 semesters, and you have 12 credits.
Yes.
So then what happened?
So then, the school was you cannot come back here. You're on academic probation. You have not met the standards of being at this school anymore. So I had to go back home.
Okay.
I had to go to Nassau Community College
okay.
for a semester.
Okay.
And, I was drinking excessively at this point. This was in the morning. I was waking up. I was drinking probably about 15 to 20 servings of alcohol daily.
Wow. Okay.
And I ended up going to the hospital.
Okay.
So I had 2 hospitalizations. Both were seizures.
Okay.
And from withdrawal of alcohol. In combination with some
scary.
other things.
Sure.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. So the first time, the first seizure that happened, I kind of just blacked out. I woke up in the hospital. And I had no idea what had happened. My whole family was there, and my best friend from high school was there. I was like, "What's going on?" And they were like, "You had a seizure." And I was like, "Oh, damn." In my head, I'm freaking out, thinking that they're gonna tell me that I have to stop drinking and stuff.
Okay.
So I just blamed Xanax. I was using an anxiety medication. I was like, this was because I had a problem with Xanax.
Okay.
But I was doing everything to hide the drinking, because I didn't want people to think that I had a drinking problem, because I wanted to keep drinking, which was what landed me in the hospital the second time a month later.
Wow.
So a month later, I had a second hospitalization.
And when you're talking about a hospitalization, you're talking about a day or multiple days in the hospital?
First time was an overnight. I got there, they kept me the night, I left the next day.
Okay.
The second time, I was there for a couple of days. I was there for 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
So now they're oh, maybe we got it wrong.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad they figured out that they got it wrong.
Yes.
When did you figure out that it wasn't Xanax?
I knew always it wasn't Xanax. That was like the plan. I was like, I'm going to sell this to everybody that I have a Xanax problem. Which I like did, but it wasn't like to the point that would land me in a hospital. Okay. Right? Like it was like I would take it because I was so hungover, and that would help the alcohol kick in quicker. But so I was like trying to get everybody to believe that I had a Xanax issue, and so that they would be like, oh, he can drink, right? Because I didn't want people to think that I couldn't drink.
But you're living at home right now. What are your parents saying? Like, were they not aware that you were drinking?
Well, my mom was more like that, you know. I was living with my mom.
Okay.
My dad was in, you know, a couple towns over.
Okay.
So he like knew I went out and drank a lot.
Sure.
I don't think anybody really knew to the extent of which I was actually drinking.
Wow.
I hid that pretty well. But my mom, she just thought I was like this college kid, like having fun.
Sure.
And like, you know, she kind of had the same, you know, she's actually in recovery too.
Oh, okay.
So she probably just thought that like I was, you know, just having fun in college, and that, you know, I didn't do well in school. She was upset, clearly. But she thought it was just some like I just didn't have like drive or motivation. She wasn't like, oh, he has a serious drug problem, and that's why he failed out. That wasn't it.
So when did you figure out that maybe it was nothing? It was actually something that was serious enough then, that it made you sort of stand up.
I always kind of knew. Like I knew it wasn't right that I was
drinking
like
as much
getting
as you were drinking.
this drunk. And I used to be like, you know, I was like fun for a while, and then like the last like 18 months last year, that's when like my friends would like sit me down and be like, you were like horrible last night. Like we had to take care of you, XYZ, or like you showed up to the pregame and you were not even here. Like no one, like no lights on. So it got to a point where I wasn't functioning at all.
Oh, okay.
Anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. You now realize in your head that something's wrong.
Yeah.
What's your next step?
My next step? Well, I mean, it was the seizures that... The second seizure was when I was like, okay, like, this is crazy.
Okay.
Like, I'm in a hospital, my sister is crying, my mom is crying, my friends are looking at me like I'm crazy. I was like, this is real. I can't do this anymore.
That's cool. But what's amazing is that, and we work with, and we've spoken to a few people who have, you know, addictions and whatnot, and deal with addiction in general. And one of the things that is so compelling is, yes, it is an individual's choice and the first step that they take, but very often there's a support network that's around them to help them through that.
Yeah.
While that choice is theirs.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your friends were really, you know...
My friends, I had two friends who were sober already.
Oh,
like my group of friends, we moved really fast, like when we were young. So we were doing like we were drinking a lot, going out, like experimenting with, you know, lots of drugs when we were like 14 to 18 years old. So I had two friends who were already in sobriety.
Okay.
My mom and dad were both, you know, they both had alcohol and substance abuse issues. Okay. So my mom was like very, you know, she had a couple of years under her belt when I had to stop. So she was there, and I had my two best friends, Liam and Jack, who were like there for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like at that point that was a catalyst that got you to...
Yes. Well, I was also dating a girl at the time who was telling me from like senior year that I had, like when I drank, something was different. So she, like, when I was starting to get, like, really bad with drinking, she would tell me, not, like, I couldn't talk to her, like, if I was, like, gonna drink.
Okay.
So, like, there was, like, lots of hints as to, like I knew I had a problem, and there was people who were saying things to me, like, before, like, way before the seizure had happened. Yeah.
So, you're now sober. How long have you been sober?
I had 4 years in April.
Congratulations,
April
that's
7th.
great.
Thank you.
And what was that journey once you started like?
From day one?
Yeah.
I mean, it was very hard in the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
Extremely tough.
We've heard a lot.
Because then it's coming to reality with, like, I failed out of school. All my friends do, like, you know, they drink a lot and they go out a lot, my social life. And I also had made, you know, my friends were kind of fed up with what I had become.
Sure.
So they didn't want to, you know, have me along at
sure.
places. So it was like coming to the realization that, you know, I had no idea where I was or what I was going to do. And, like, I had absolutely, like, nothing going for me. That was the scary part. So it was, like, actually starting to, like, what am I going to do with my life? That was scary.
Okay.
Because before I could just drink and then I was, like, having fun again. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think that, did you feel that intimidation because you didn't feel like you had direction? Was that part of it? And
with the drinking?
Yeah,
like,
well, it sounds like drinking and drugs sort of just numbed all of that.
Yeah.
But inside, from what you just said, it sounds like you were struggling with, like, what am I supposed to do with my life? You know, what direction am I going into?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I've chosen this, but am I really passionate about it? I mean, it's not uncommon things that I think a lot of people coming out of high school and their first few years of college go through. Yeah. But I also do think that, you know, and we all find different ways of coping, right?
Yes. Yes.
You know, and so you now get to the realization that your coping mechanism is actually more dangerous than the fear of the unknown, yes, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where did you go from there? So now the first few years are hard. What is that? What is hard?
Well, the first year was hard. Just because it's an entire lifestyle change.
Sure.
I didn't, like, know what was going on. The girl I was dating was, like, not into me anymore.
Okay.
And, well, she couldn't be with me.
Sure.
For, you know, explainable reasons.
Sure.
My friends were also, you know, the people that I used to hang out with every day, you know, I couldn't really put myself in the rooms with them because, you know, we were always going out to bars, we were always meeting up for drinks, and I couldn't be around it in the beginning at all. So the hard part in the beginning was definitely just, like, what do I like to do for fun?
Yep.
Like, am I going to go to school? What do I want to study? How am I going to do this? And fitness was the first thing that, like, I got that made me happy again.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's huge in the respect that when you're in that constant whirlpool of self-doubt of, like, what if, what am I, you know, and everything is what, how, you know, when, and you have to land on something. And the nice part is that it sounds like you had that background or that foundation, you know, coming from high school when you were working out in college and everything. Yeah. So now you had something to fall back on that was somewhat familiar, maybe not a direction just yet, but at least it's familiar.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, high school, beginning of college, before, like, I got really bad, I was working out, but about 18 months, you know, I keep saying 18 months because, like, I had a really bad 18 months. Like, that's when, like, everything kind of really was a sharp decline. You know, I stopped going to the gym. It was only partying. I wasn't going to classes. I wasn't eating good food. So my body was, like, really, like, I would say I had, like, no muscle mass at this point. I was, like, super skinny.
Wow.
And, like, skinny out of shape, though. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So naturally, you're a very slight figure?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like starting from scratch.
Got it. All right, so now you've rediscovered fitness.
Yeah.
When did it become your career, though? Because that's a whole different shift.
It became my career because
or let me say, your career of choice.
Yes. So, as I was saying, the gym was, like, the first thing that, like, brought me, like, happiness again.
Okay.
So I started going, like, daily. I told myself that I'd go to the gym, like, whenever, like, I'd be, like, actually going out and, like, drinking. Like, it was, like, a challenge to myself in a way.
Sure.
So I was going to the gym, you know, a lot. And I loved it. and it made me happy, and I found that spark again, like when I was like a kid and I really loved it, like that was there. And at this point, I decided to go back to school, like at Nassau Community College, to try and get myself into social work.
Okay.
Because I wanted to, like, you know, I had a couple months under my belt. I waited a semester to go back into school. I took like 6 months to kind of just like, you know, I worked as like a delivery driver, like a pizza delivery man. Sure. And I just worked out, and I was like, I need to get my like shit together. So I went back to school to study social work to help people with addiction. Mm-hmm. That was like my main goal. Yeah. And, you know, I was going to the gym while I was doing this, still delivering pizza. Yeah. But I'd see trainers at the gym, and I'd be like, I'd see them training people, I'd see them talking to people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could definitely like see myself doing that. And that'd be awesome. I'd be at the gym all day. I'd be like making more money than I would delivering food, and I'd be like just in the gym talking about like what I'm interested in with people. So that was at Blink Fitness. That's where I got my first personal training job. So the goal was I would use personal training as like a side hustle just to have some extra money like while I was going to school for social work.
So I've always been curious about this, and since it's relatively recent in the last 5 years, what was your biggest misconception about turning it or making it into a career in that you didn't expect, because at the time it was just your passion?
So what was the turning point?
No. What was the biggest misconception that you had about fitness from you just loving it because it makes me happy versus I'm going to make this into a side hustle and make it a job? Okay. What was your biggest misconception from I like this, it's now a job?
The biggest misconception about I like this to a now job? Are you asking me if with like was there an idea about fitness that I had? Like that
I ask because most people going into fitness because I like it is never what they get when they get into it. Yeah. They start realizing that there's another side of it that they don't really understand.
Yes, so it kind of went hand in hand with social work, because at the same time, like I was still getting that benefit of feeling that like I was like helping somebody in some way, and talking to people. Yeah. Because my end game for social work was I wanted to like be a psychotherapist and talk with people with addiction. Okay. And as you know, as a trainer, training clients yourself, it's like sometimes you just feel like you're in a therapy session with your clients. I'm not saying like I'm actually giving real therapy to my clients, but you know, clients talk about their lives with you, and at the same time you're like also, you know, like working out and teaching them about fitness and helping whatever needs that they have that need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
And it's cool. It was like fun.
So you never had a detrimental side of, because it was always sort of in the line of what you were aiming towards, which is to help people and to be of service.
Yes. I didn't think that personal training was going to be a long-term career for me. Okay. At all. So
then when did the switch flip and then it become this, oh, cool, this could be a career?
I started doing well. Well, I came into Blink like right before New Year's. Okay. And then it was like right after the pandemic. So like people were still wearing masks, but like it seemed like people were eager to like put themselves back into the gym, and had also been, you know, sedentary for like 9 months. So I feel like I walked in at a good time, because I was like, you know, a lot of people were, you know, thinking about getting a trainer. And I was, you know, building up a good client base. Yeah. I had like a mentor, like a really good mentor at Blink. He was great, and he like definitely, you know, helped me with the sales aspect of personal training and whatnot. And, you know, once I started building my client base and, you know, enjoyed it, I was like, this is something that I could definitely see myself doing. Like,
I'm curious, just because you had someone that, again, was part of your support group, your mentor that actually helped you. How would you say that this mentor helped you the most when you were getting into the industry?
With personal training, he was just so honest with me.
Okay.
Like, he was like, this job, if you want to do well, like, you're going to have to be here at 5 a.m. and you're probably going to leave at like 9 p.m. He was like, you're going to have the before work crowd.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to actually like pay your bills doing personal training, like, you're more than likely going to have to train people before they go to work. So that's like the busy hours.
Yeah.
You got the 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. slot. So you got like 4 good slots there, and then people go to work.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are. So that was a Blink, like in the suburbs of Long Island. So the middays were pretty empty. So like, you would hang around the gym. It was like a unicorn if you got like people from like 12 or like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., like those midday before lunch slots were like hard to get. So, it's a long, like he was pretty much telling me, if you want to do well in personal training, like you're going to have to really try.
Sure.
It's not just like you love working out and like, so you're going to be a great trainer. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, he was very helpful with me. And like, you get your NASM CPT.
Okay.
Nobody really, like, they were doing it virtually too, and there was no, like, in-person work. So, like, you can get your cert, but, like, the experience is what really teaches you.
Sure.
So, like, I was getting clients in the beginning, and, like, I remember I had this, like, 65-year-old, like, ready to do, like, barbell squats. And, like, the mentor, like, she was not, like, she probably shouldn't have been doing this. So the mentor like grabbed me and was like, maybe like you give her like a dumbbell first and like see how she does. So like, he taught me how to actually train people.
Very cool.
Because, in the beginning I was more like, push pull legs, like, I'm like 20 years old and like no injuries and like have all this energy.
Yeah.
And then they like, you get clients who are like 50 years old, herniated discs, high blood pressure, haven't moved at all.
Yep.
Like you're not just gonna throw them like here's a bench press superset like to get your arms big. Like that's not what people's actual goals are.
Sure.
It's some people's goals, but not
not the majority of people.
Yes.
But I think also social media blows that up because it tends to feed into the extreme of fitness and like what physique should look like.
Definitely.
And when you start looking at what kids' expectations are and young adults' expectations, very often it's really heartbreaking to see them get very disappointed and to understand that to put on 2 or 3 pounds of muscle is not just a month-long journey.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have the other side where their expectation of what you bring to the table is an entirely different skill set than say what they read in a magazine.
Yes.
Okay, so now you've decided to make it a career. You've made it a career that is still able to help people. It is actually, I think, helped you because it's helped you take focus off of the uncertainty of what the addiction was sort of suppressing and hiding, and now giving you clarity. So now that you have clarity, where do you want to go? Like, what are you aiming to do?
Personal training?
Because incidentally, guys, one of the things you need to know about Tommy is during the pandemic, this man was all over my Instagram, constantly running promotions, and I was like, "Who the heck is this person?" I know where he's taking these pictures because I saw them, and they were at the exact studio that I worked out of. So I'm like, "Who is this guy? I don't know who he is," because most of the people that I had worked with had moved away, and then he moved in.
Yes.
So tell me more.
So, I was personal training at a Blink Fitness in Long Island. Once I knew I was like actually serious about like wanting to be a personal trainer.
Okay.
I knew I had to like get into like, Blink's a good place to start off as a personal trainer,
Sure.
But if you're looking at like, being a serious full-time personal trainer at like other gyms, it seems like Equinox definitely was like a step up.
Okay.
So I wanted to like improve my skills and also, get into a position where I had more earning potential.
Sure.
Because Equinox definitely had more earning potential.
Sure.
And it seems like they had more of it seems like they had a lot more care about like the trainers and their knowledge and like making sure that they're like okay
helping
to
develop
help people.
them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Blink was more like that. The Blink that I was working at, like there was no like fitness manager, like there was nobody like making sure that like the trainers were like actually doing things correctly.
Yeah.
Like I had this one guy who was like a trainer there for like 6-7 years who was like kind of like an unspoken senior guy. Yeah. Who like just decided to like help me.
That's great though.
Yeah.
That he did.
So Equinox was definitely like I knew I had to like I wanted to take a step further. So I decided to go with Equinox.
Okay, so you leave Blink and now you're with Equinox.
Blink. I go to Equinox. My family, I was living with my mom. She moved to Florida.
Oh.
So I knew I had to like figure something out.
Meaning that you weren't going to have a place to live.
I wasn't going to have a place to live.
Got it.
I didn't want to go to Florida. And you know, she's living with my grandparents, and there wasn't even like really much space for me if I had wanted to like make that work.
Okay.
So I knew I had to like figure something out. Like, do I want to stay here long term? But I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer. Because
this is now in the middle of the pandemic. Like we're not.
This is right around vaccine mandates.
Yeah. So again, this is June of 2020.
Yep.
3 months after having been locked down.
Yep.
They're now on lockdown, but you know they can only have X amount of people in the gym at a time.
Yes.
30% capacity, whatever that is, and now you go to work there.
Yes.
Okay.
Then what happens? Work there, and I came in again at a great time. They mandated like it was my you know you go through like a month like of onboarding. Like they don't just like put you as a trainer right away. You go through the onboarding process and then you get cleared to like actually start, you know, giving consultations and have a chance to train people.
Wow, fun. Okay.
And I came in and my first week they mandated that trainers get vaccines. Okay. There was about 13 trainers at this gym and about 6 of them were like, I'm not getting vaccinated and left. Okay. So there was all of these clients, and I pretty much just came in and got an opportunity to pitch myself to a bunch of clients who already had sessions in their account and had worked with a personal trainer. So it like you got lucky. I got lucky because then I was able to afford rent.
Okay.
Because I found a place through a family friend, like some really far extension of a family friend. Sure. Who had a rent stabilized. He like, you know, he wasn't supposed to lease it out to me. But he was renting out an apartment for like $400 a month because he had it like in his name since like the 80s. And it was a really old rundown apartment that he was like, if you pay me $1,200 a month, you can live here. And I was like, sweet. So
he
I moved in, he subletted it to me. And then I was living in the city and that made my life a whole lot easier.
Wait, so up until this point, you've been commuting from Long Island?
Yeah. So it was waking up at 3:30.
Okay.
Getting on the train at like 4.
Okay.
Because I had like, you know, I had floor hours at like 5 a.m.
Okay.
And then, you know, I had clients at night. So like I was getting back on the train at like 8 p.m. I'd like leave to go to work at like 3 a.m. and I'd get back home at like 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m.
So just about what that guy told you
when
you first started.
Just about,
So now you're like, all right, he wasn't telling me a lie. It's the truth.
Yes.
And yet you still and it hasn't deterred you. So now this is more than just something you like to do. It's actually something you're very passionate about.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So now you're at the point where you're successful because you happen to walk into a gold mine. Then what happens?
What happens? I mean, I got, you know, the gold mine was more like, you know, I got like 8 clients.
Great.
Which was good.
Yeah.
It was enough to pay my rent barely. But, you know, I started getting, you know, comfortable and good, and I had some experience under my belt at this time.
Yeah.
And, like, I spent all of my time, like, watching YouTube and, like, exercise scientists and, like, picking up books at the store and, like, learning about anatomy and training people that like I started to get really good at, you know, building a business.
Okay.
So I'm doing this for about like 8 months, and then I get a message from like a client that I had trained in Long Island who had a family member who lived in New York City in like a residential building.
Okay.
And it was like, can you go train them there? And
Sweet.
I was like, yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
So I went to go train this person at their residential building, and I go there, I train them, and while I'm training them in their gym, there's like 2 other people who came up to me like during the session like, oh, you're a trainer? Like, do you have a business card? Like, do you have anything? I had nothing. I was just like, no, like, but I'm a trainer.
I just got this cute
yes,
face.
Yes.
Yeah. And the angels sing and the light hits you. And
exactly.
Then, okay.
But, you know, I had no card. I had nothing to give them. But, like, I was like, I gave them my phone number. But I left there completely changing my mindset of, wow, this has an insane amount of potential.
Sure.
Because the earning potential is higher. And I'm now getting my face in, like, another gym that has tons of people who live in it. Like, if I can, you know, get recognized in a residential building, I can make good money.
Sure.
And I can also, you know, take that next step in my career. So that fueled a whole new thing. Like, I made business cards, like, that night, like, ordered T-shirts online. Like, I was, like, it was, like, a manic state of, like, being super excited. And, like,
amazing.
I want to, like, pounce on this opportunity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hence, he ended up all over my Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you are like, this is gonna go. You're not just a dreamer, but you're a doer, which means you just hit the gas. You put it in, you know, you put it into full throttle, and now you've got business cards, T-shirts. You've got opportunity, or at least what seems like the opportunity.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
What happens is, I know, I started to get some leads. And one client turned into 3 in this one building.
Nice.
And then I started asking them, like, if they had referrals, discounts on their sessions. I got my foot into the door of another building.
Yeah.
And then I grew my client bases at, like, 2 different buildings in the city. And then I was, like, really, like, at that point I knew I really wanted to focus on building a brand and building a business of my own.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So all of this, like, it sounds like you found so much more direction, following your passion. You're now helping people. What are the things that you would want to impart upon, you know, our listeners, specifically, maybe not necessarily people that want to go into fitness, but I think more importantly is you're someone that is now, you've conquered every single day that you wake up and you go out. You've conquered your addiction, and you're moving forward towards something that you're really passionate, and you've actually laid out all of the groundwork for.
Yeah.
Like, you've created these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell people who are still struggling or like looking for direction?
I would say to just really try and find what makes you feel like you have purpose. That's what really helped me, like, in the beginning. Even before, like, personal training was even a part of my head. The gym, like, grounded me and made me have actual, like, I was able to actually just, like, sit and be present while I was in there, and that helped me so much.
Yeah.
I would give advice to people, and really, like, anybody who's struggling with addiction, I would really tell them, first off, if you have nobody, like, if you have no support group or, like, anything like that, you know, a lot of people find AA to be extremely beneficial.
Sure.
Just, like, finding a community of people who you can talk to, and maybe find somebody within that community that you can look up to. See somebody who, you know, is sober and actually happy. Because, you know, when I like really realized I had to stop drinking, it felt like a death sentence.
Sure.
Like, I was not excited. You know, you're in your young 20s, and it felt like my life was going to be, like, really crappy because of it.
And yet, on the flip side, it
became so much better. It was like so significantly better.
Do you think that, and I always wonder this, do you think that fear drives that impending feeling of doom? Of like, oh, this is so gonna suck.
Yeah.
Do you feel like...
Yes. Totally. I was like, this is gonna suck. I am not happy.
Because it's so uncertain.
I was extremely upset about it.
Yeah.
It probably fueled a lot of workouts of me just being like, ugh, getting that like anxiety and, kind of like aggression and,
Yeah.
It definitely felt like doom.
And yet you've come out here glowing. You're a charming personality at 6 a.m.
Well, thank you.
Mind you, he comes in smelling like bacon and cheese on a roll.
I brought in a bacon, egg, and cheese one morning.
And again, at 6 a.m., no one is ready for my sarcastic, asinine commentary.
That's true.
I was like, where's mine? Anyway, so, all right. What would you like to leave our listeners with? I mean, it sounds like you're on such an amazing path forward now. I'm excited listening to you. And, it's exciting to hear how you've taken lemons and literally made lemonade. Yeah. And yes, it sucks because there's seeds in those lemons. But at some point you got them all out and you got them out of your way. And now you're moving forward.
Yeah. I would say patience and really just sticking to it, trying to think about, I know it sounds cliche, but one day at a time is extremely helpful. Like trying not to really think like I can't drink forever as opposed to like I'm not going to today just really makes it a lot more attainable mentally.
Sure.
And just wait it out. Things might be really challenging. Your life might seem very difficult, no matter what you're struggling with. But it's, you're going to see progress over time. It's not going to happen in the snap of a finger. You really need to, put the work in and understand that it's going to be tough. But, good things are on the other side.
So one of my favorite things that I heard, and I heard this from another trainer probably in 2012, and it is my favorite saying, is sort of in the theme and genre of what you said, one day at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Okay, that's a good saying.
One bite.
You can one bite at a time.
Like it literally could be overwhelming and huge and massive, and and you take it down one bite at a time.
Yes.
You don't do it any other way. And I think in today's world where everything moves so fast, like it's social media, technology, everything just drives speed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is that we expect human psyche and our hearts and our minds to change overnight, and they don't. Yeah. It's creating new habits. And, we say it takes 10,000 movements to recreate a new movement pattern. Yeah. It takes so much more than that to find self-confidence. Yeah. To find self-love. And the skill to be able to look in the mirror and appreciate what you see on any given day. I think that's what's so inspirational, and I congratulate you on your 4 years of sobriety.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a guest here, Tommy. Of course. It's been the best. I expect my bacon, egg, and cheese at
Tuesday
6 a.m.
morning.
There you go.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Guys, thanks so much for joining us again. This is the Journey NYC podcast. I'm Anthony. This is my guest, superstar himself, Tommy McClain from McClain Personal Training. You will see his t-shirts all over the place. And if you're lucky, he'll be all over your DMs in Instagram.
Hopefully.